कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः.
Truly speaking, that sin and punya, papa and punya, in spirituality, when a person becomes a spiritual seeker, the papa and punya change their meanings also. It is not like the usual ritualistic, moralistic meaning. When a person takes to spirituality, for him any constriction is papa. So if he does some very good work and becomes egoistic about it, very good social work I have done, and he becomes egoistic about it, it is papa, because it is constricting his mind, it is making his mind egoistic. Similarly, punya is whatever makes the mind expand, whatever liberates the mind, whatever takes the mind to a higher dimension, makes the mind subtle, expanded. So even if in the process of killing his own people, his own grandfather and the teacher and the other people also, by every act of it which was prevented, his mind was prevented from doing because of their relationship, to do it he had to get over that family relationship and the corresponding bondages. So every time this killing in case of Arjuna is liberating his mind from the bondages he is suffering. So it is not causing bondage, but it is liberating from the bondages. So this is the first mindset which shows that Rajya Sukha Lobhena, that he was fighting, he was performing for the greed for enjoying the kingship. That was the wrong mindset, that was the selfish mindset, a constricted mindset. And what should be the mindset? If that karma, the war, fighting the war, if it has to become a yoga, that karma has to become a yoga, then what should be the mindset? It should be yasya nahankrito bhavo buddhir yasya na lipyate hatvapi sa iman lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. So with this constricted mindset, with the idea of fighting the war, Arjuna got depressed, because he could not visualize the war from a comprehensive, broader perspective, as was Krishna. Whatever the scenery that was in front of Krishna also, he had also relationship with the families, both the families. But he was smiling and he was guiding with a placid mind, with a cheerful mind everywhere. But Arjuna was not. He came with the 13 years of preparation, but coming to the war field, battlefield, finally, seeing the people, the whole picture changed. He started thinking in a different manner. He was absolutely confused. He started crying, shedding tears. The Gandiva, the bow, fell from his hand. He sat depressed, not knowing what to do. He wanted to run away from the battlefield. Now Krishna found that Arjuna is not in a mood to listen to me at this time. He is preaching me, he is behaving like a completely deluded person, and he will not accept easily what I am saying. So Krishna said, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anaryajushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna klaivyam masmagamah partha naitatvayupapadyate shudram hridaya daurvalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. He took the stick in hand. It is a kind admonishing. Bhagavad Gita says, Tam tatha kripaya vishtam ashrupurna kulekshanam vishidantamidam vakyam vacha madhusudana. Being kind to Arjuna, he admonished him, saying that, what is this? You are behaving with unmanliness. It is absolutely unsuitable for an Arya, for a respectable warrior of your clan. What has put you in this condition? It is not at all suiting your valor, your courage. somehow immediately you get over this constricted mindset in this weakness and get up and fight. What happens is that often, because as we find that Arjuna was in fact preaching Krishna, he was not humble. He was quite egoistic about his moral sense, and with that he was depressed. But with Krishna's admonishing, he got rid of this ego. So whenever, this is also indicating a very subtle thing in spiritual sadhana. Often the guru has to admonish the shishya to making him rid of his ego, to freeing him from his ego. Generally we are all egoistic, and often the ego will not go by only sweet words. We need harsh words, admonishing words to get rid of the ego. Once we become humble, then only the message can be given. So that is very much seen in the 7th verse of this 2nd chapter, depending on which the Bhagavad Gita Gospel starts. He says, Karpanya dosho apahata svabhavaha pritchami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yachreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me शिष्यस्तेहं शाधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नं कार्पण्यदोषोऽपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेहं शाधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. Each word of this verse has to be gone into. He says, Karpanya dosho apahata svabhavaha. This is a confession of Arjuna now. Earlier he was teaching Krishna about the moral codes. Now he says that I am dharma sammudha chetaha. See, he was speaking about adharma there. We will be incurring adharma. There will be adharma in the society also. Now he is confessing that I am dharma sammudha chetaha. Dharma sammudha chetaha means samyak mudhaha is sammudhaha. That means absolutely foolish, deluded about what is dharma. He says, I am absolutely deluded about what is dharma. Here also it indicates a great point in our sadhana. In Kathopanishad, Nachiketa asks Yamaraja that if there is anything beyond the duality of dharma and adharma, you tell me. So to go to this transcendental truth, we have to transcend the codes of dharma and adharma. If you stick to dharma and adharma as we learn in the moral codes, spirituality, the spiritual truth is not within the morality. One has to transcend that also. So this declaration of Arjuna that knowing all the dharma, adharma, he is confessing that I am dharma sammudha chetaha. I don't know where lies dharma and where lies adharma. Because the ultimate dharma one has to follow. That Krishna says later on also, sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. That to follow this one truth, you have to transcend all the codes of dharma. It's not that you will take to adharma, but you have to transcend the codes of dharma and to reach this supreme dharma. So he says, Karpanya dosho apahata svabhavaha. Kripana, Karpanya has come from Kripana. Kripana means constricted. It is not just a miserly in the matter of money. But Kripana in reality is our mind is constricted. We are not able to have a broad mind, a liberal mind, where we can see the truth as they are. We are seeing the world always with a constricted vision. Whatever I think that this is right and the others think that is wrong. It is a constricted vision. To have a comprehensive, liberal vision, a broad vision, we have to get rid of the kripanata we are suffering from, which comes basically from me and mineness, from our ahankara. So he confesses that my mind is haunted by this karpanya dosha. So therefore, I am asking Krishna, I am absolutely confused about the dharma. Oh Krishna, please tell me, yat shreyah syat nishchitam bruhi tanme. Please tell me without any ambiguity. Not only that you will tell me, but I must be able to follow it without any confusion. You must tell me without any ambiguity that where lies the shreyas. Yat shreyah syat. Where lies shreyas? Now this shreyas actually proves that one is a seeker of truth or not. That is what I said, that Bhagavad Gita prescribes the sadhanas which can be practiced by anybody, anywhere, working in any field of the world, provided only one condition is there, that he wants this auspicious goal. That means he wants the shreyas. Whereas shreyas is something which may not be immediately very pleasant, but which will always take us closer to the auspicious goal. So in any situation of life, we have to opt for the shreyas. If I am a seeker of truth, then I have to opt for the shreyas in preference to the preyas. Kathopanishad says, adhiraha is always opting for the shreyas in preference to the preyas. We find in various cases that we are not able to know. Commonly the people will ask how to know where lies shreyas and where lies preyas. I will tell that it is the same thumb rule you apply. Look into your mind, by taking which your mind expands, you feel the inner strength, and by taking which you feel a constriction in the mind, you feel weak inside. There is always an inner voice which we generally refer to as conscience. Actually it is the Viveka Buddhi. It is called the Viveka Buddhi. It is not just a Viveka Buddhi, actually it is the voice of the soul, because we are the soul in reality. Nobody can say that I don't have that inner voice. Inner voice is there for everybody. We are not able to heed the inner voice because of some attraction and repulsion, worldly attraction and repulsion. For greed for somebody, we are not heeding the inner voice. For something we want to gain or we don't want to lose, we are neglecting the inner voice. Inner voice is there for everybody because that is our real nature. We are the soul. So the soul's voice is there for everybody. So to be on the spiritual path, we have to analyze every situation, that by taking the path A, I will be feeling an expansion inside, or taking the path B, I will feel an inner expansion and strength. By choosing the path which will give me inner expansion and strength, that is the path of shreyas. So this choice is left to us. There is our free will. We are supposed to choose it. Nobody will choose it for us. We cannot look for an excuse saying that, oh no, God doesn't will for us. What can we do? It is for God to decide and I have to choose this because God wills this. No, not at all. We have the will to choose, and we are every moment we are bound to apply our free will. Often our Shastra scriptures, people say that it is fatalistic. Fatalistic means it is always governed by fate, that we don't have a free will, we are always governed by fate, and they interpret even surrender as surrender means becoming fatalistic, that we don't have free will. Not at all like that. It is not at all so. The free will is part of our personality, and every moment we are applying the free will. Without the will we cannot even eat, because we are wanting to eat, we are eating. Because we want to go somewhere, we are applying our free will. If you are going to some spiritual session, it is your free will which is deciding that shall I go to the spiritual session or shall I go for a movie, some other entertaining movie. It is for us to decide. So every moment the decision is ours. We have to know that we are responsible for whichever path we take. So a seeker of spirituality will have to opt for the path of shreyas. That is what Arjuna is saying, that I am a seeker of shreyas. So, O Krishna, please tell me without any ambiguity, yat shreyas syat, where lies shreyas. And why should Krishna tell him? Krishna might not have replied also. He says that, Krishna, you have to tell me. Why? Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. All the three statements here in this line. Shishyaste aham, I am your disciple. This is the first time that Arjuna is coming out with this statement. Always he was regarding Krishna as his friend, Krishna as his benefactor. Now here he is saying, Shishyaste aham, I am your disciple, O Krishna. So you have the responsibility to give your shasana. Shishya means one who takes the shasana, that means the discipline given by the teacher. We are a shishya of the Guru means the shasana, the discipline given by the Guru, I am ready to follow. Shishyasteham, shadhimam, you give your discipline. Tell me, what am I supposed to do? Why? Tvam prapannam. Not only I am your disciple, I have taken refuge in you. I have not taken refuge in my army. I have not taken refuge in any other lord. I have not taken refuge in my own power or Gandiva anymore, which I was actually doing a little before. I was boasting about my power, my Gandiva, my other weapons. Now I have not taken refuge under any of this. All the 13 years of austerities I have done and acquired so many weapons and all. I am not taking refuge in that, O Krishna. I am taking refuge in you, so you must guide me. This is where the Guru has to take the disciple by the hand and lead him to the goal. He cannot refuse it anymore. In Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya says, when the disciple approaches the Guru with humility, with surrender, what is the Guru supposed to do? Because he is there only for the disciples to take people across this ocean of worldliness. Shanta mahanto nivasanti santo vasantavallokahitam charantaha tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha. Shanta mahanto nivasanti santo vasantavallokahitam charantaha tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha. Because these Mahatmas, they are in this world only to vasantavallokahitam charantaha, as the spring breeze. It comes for the welfare of nature, welfare of everybody. Like that, they are also here blowing their cool wind of calmness. Tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam, that they themselves have crossed this difficult ocean of worldliness, and after crossing this, they are only waiting to lead others across this ocean. And there is no motive behind that. The Mahatmas, they do it without any motive. They don't have any gain. Because they have crossed the ocean, they always feel that why people are suffering for nothing. They feel sympathy. They feel that everybody, if they are taken across by hand, if they are guided properly, how cheerful they can be, how blessed they can be. Unnecessarily they are constricting their mind and they are suffering from the constricted mindset. So they are waiting to relieve us from our constricted mindset and taking our mind to and in tune with infinite, to put us in tune with the infinity. That is what the Mahatmas are residing for. That is why they are there in this world. So I said that this shloka is the very basis of this Bhagavad Gita gospel. Without this shloka, the Bhagavad Gita gospel would not have started. Because after getting admonished by Krishna, Arjuna became humble, and then leaving everything, he took refuge in Krishna and asked him to lead him to Shreyas, where lies the ultimate auspicious goal. Kathopanishad says in second chapter, Anyat Shreyo Anyadutaiva Preyaha Te Ubhe Nanarthe Purusham Sinitaha Tayoh Shreya Adadanasya Sadhu Bhavati Hiyate Arthat Yayu Preyo Vrinite. He says that the Shreyas and Preyas, they are very different from each other. They bind us with altogether different strings. Of that, those who opt for the Shreyas, for them is Mangala, Sadhu Bhavati, they attain Mangala. The others, those who leave the Shreyas, opting for Preyas, they get away from this auspicious goal. He says, Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyametaha Tau Samparitya Vivinakti Dhiraha Shreyo hi dhiro bhi preyaso vrinite preyo mando yogakshemat vrinite. There are two kinds of people. One is dhiraha, one is mandaha. Dhiraha, I have already explained that dhiraha is one who is always thinking. He doesn't leave his intelligence idle, whose intelligence is always active. Not only that, he always thinks in an auspicious manner, so that he is always taken to the auspicious goal. Such a person is called dhiraha. Whereas mandaha is one who is dull-headed, who doesn't think properly. If at all he thinks in terms of immediate gain and get trapped by it. He gets away from the auspicious track. So he says that Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyametaha. Both Shreyas and Preyas are approaching before us, before Manushya. Tau Samparitya Vivinakti Dhiraha. A dhiraha person, a thoughtful person, what does he do? Samparitya, Samyak Paritya. He goes around, looks into the pros and cons, going around all the situation, the entire situation. Not only going around, Vivinakti. He looks at it in a cut and dry method. He cuts everything, looks into it, what is there inside, not only what is there around. Tau Samparitya Vivinakti Dhiraha. A dhiraha, he goes around, looks into all the sides and gets into it and looks into the inside also. After seeing, what does he do? Shreyo hi dhiro hi preyaso vrinite. In preference to the prayers, he opts for the Shreyas. And preyo mando yogakshema vrinite. Whereas the mandaha, he always opts for the prayers. And for what? Yogakshemat. For yoga means to gain more, and kshema means to protect whatever he has. He does not want to lose any of his possession, and he is always after gaining more and more of the material property, the material wealth, material enjoyment. So that blinds his vision. He cannot see farther beyond what is there beyond. His mind is bogged down to the immediate gain and losses. So he doesn't look at the Shreyas. In preference to the Shreyas, he opts for the prayers. If we look into the Bhagavad Gita prescriptions well, we will find them absolutely universal. They are not at all religious. They are dealing with the different aspects of personality. This is the reason people also find Bhagavad Gita to be complex. In many places it appears to be contradictory. But the reason is that it is considering everybody as its practitioner, and it has to take into account the human personality in all its aspects. So we don't have any other scripture where such varied model and analysis of human personality is presented in such a brief, precise form. That is the greatness of Bhagavad Gita. Now, we have already seen that what was Arjuna's mindset before receiving the gospel and what should be the actual mindset of a person who is in yoga. We have discussed these two verses earlier also. Aho vata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yad rajya sukhalobhena hantum svajanamudyataha. Aho vata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yad rajya sukhalobhena hantum svajanamudyataha. This was the mindset of Arjuna before the Bhagavad Gita gospel. That is, we are out to commit a great sin because out of greed for enjoying the kingdom, we are going to fight our own people, our most beloved grandfather, our most respected teacher. But what Krishna explained is that what should be the mindset in which even the war, even the killing our own people, by killing our most beloved people, we will not incur sin. It is not at all sin, but it will become a way to liberation. That was in the 18th chapter, 17th verse. Yasya naham krito bhavo buddhir yasya na lipyate hatva pisa iman lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. Yasya naham krito bhavo buddhir yasya na lipyate hatva pisa iman lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. So this should be the mindset where we don't have the kartritva and bhoktritva. Our intelligence is freed of the lepana of our constrictions. Then even we have to kill the whole world, that will not bind us. We will not be hindered by anything. We will not be constricted by anything, whatever we have to do. With that we started and we came to the Arjuna's mindset in how it became humble. Initially it was egoistic. That was not the proper situation where a person can give spiritual message.